Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CB550 barn find build. So we're now on episode 9. It has been a little while since the last upload, probably a little bit longer than I wanted, but I haven't stopped working on the bike. As you can see from those last clips, I've been sort of working on maybe the more boring kind of stuff, the electrical side of it, getting all the mudguards back on, and it is starting to look a bit more like a bike. So if you've seen the last video, you've have seen that I finished the seat, and now actually since that video, I successfully got the Honda logo on the back, as you'd have seen from the other video if you did watch that. Then yeah, the first time that I did that, it did fail and the writing smudged, so it's now got like a leather paint on there, which seems a lot more durable. Had to apply sort of lots of thin coats on there. But yeah, I'm going to fit the seat on now. Hopefully that'll get the bike looking a little bit more complete. And then it's time to turn the key. So I think, so most of the loom was there. There's been definitely some cable snipped along the way, more sort of related to indicators and a couple of just random cables snipped. So I have reconnected those and rejoined them up. We've connected the battery. I'm hoping that like all the earths and everything are going to be good enough. That might be one of the reasons why it doesn't work. But I've never seen anything on this bike work since I've had it. So obviously there's every chance that there's going to be more issues along the way. Ignition barrel was all snipped. That's been sort of re-crimped and repaired. I kind of wanted to do that. I mean, the ideal would have been to replace the ignition barrel, but this key matches all of the locks. You've got the seat lock, the ignition barrel, the steering lock. They all have the same code. So I wanted to keep the same key for all of that. So I've managed to repair the ignition barrel. I'll put in a picture of all that sort of stuff in a second. And then, yeah, I'm just going to now put the key in, turn it on, and see what works. Stuff like the horn, there isn't one, so obviously that's not going to work. Rear brake light should work. Rear indicators should work. Obviously the engine's not here yet. So, yeah, there's a few things that aren't obviously going to work, and there's some things that hopefully should work. So, moment of truth. Know actually which way the key. That's one turn. Another turn. Nope, nothing. So there's part of it that might be a earth issue, so I'm just going to have a little look now and see if there's anything obvious that I can see. Okay, so obviously nothing worked there when I turned the key. So what I'm going to do now, just because I'm thinking this frame's been powder coated, there might be a potential bad earth. So there is just one main earth point here which feeds to all of the cables, and then obviously you've got the battery earth here. So just to rule that out, what I'm going to do is disconnect this earth lead from the battery, also disconnect the earth from the frame, and then just directly connect a cable from this terminal straight to the battery. And what that's going to do is eliminate it running through the frame, and then obviously if that works, then it just means we've got a bad earth on the frame. We just need to take some of that powder coating off and just make sure we've got a good contact there. So yeah, what I'm going to do is take this lead off, get it connected up, turn the key again, and see if anything works. Okay, so I've just got a spare bit of loom that was off one of the indicator wires that was broken. So what I'm going to do is just wrap this round the negative terminal of the battery, just round one of the bolts, and then I'll nip that up. Okay, so that's that cable pinched on the negative terminal, and I'll just run that under, and then probably all I'm going to do is just get this negative and just wrap that round, and that just means that the main earth for all the electrics on the bike is connected directly to the battery, and then obviously we've got the positive connected in here. So if it still doesn't work, maybe we'll then start looking towards the ignition barrel. And yeah, see what happens. I'm just going to grab the key now, and moment of truth again. Okay, so we've got a brake light. The brake light's on. Okay, so there's definitely something weird going on. Okay, so the indicators are working, but they aren't flashing. Whether that's the relay doesn't work whilst it's not running, or... Okay, something's definitely wired up a little bit weird, but we have power. It's the first time I've ever seen anything working on this bike at all. So headlight's not working. I'm pretty sure that the ignition barrel that I've repaired works. So I'm just going to spend a little bit more time just trying to figure out maybe where I've put some wires wrong. Wonder why this headlight isn't working. It might just not be ground in there. Yeah, it's just going to be a matter of playing around now. So I think obviously the reason why nothing was working before is just because the earth was bad through the frame where it's been powder coated. So just a little quick test there. So completely eliminated the ground circuit throughout the frame. Just connected that directly up to the negative terminal. Thanks for that tip again, Joe, my personal electrician, just for that little bit of advice. Obviously, the only other way you could do it really would be continuity test with a multimeter. This has just been like a quick way that I could just connect it up and just sort of see what's working. So yeah, I'll just gonna have a bit of a play around now with some wires, see if I can get all of this working, and yeah, check back in a moment. Okay, so some progress. I've switched the leads round on the indicator relay. Haven't got the lens on this back light, but as you see, the rear indicator is blinking, as is the front one. However, the right one is just on constantly, so getting some sort of false reading there. That one switches off in the center, that one doesn't, and then it sort of winks. That one's winking, that one's winking, but then yeah, back to center, and it's staying on. And then that one's blinking, so sort of getting there, but just a bit of trial and error, and yeah, figure out why that one's just staying on all the time. Okay, so just been playing around with a couple of ideas and trying a few things. I've also just been looking at the wiring diagram. So although I've linked those two to the loom, that's obviously created a good earth for the loom. So all of the green cables are going to work. But a lot of the stuff on these bikes are grounded through the controls, handlebars and everything. So that makes me think that although we've connected that to the battery and that made me realise that the earth was bad, it isn't actually making the things that rely on a frame earth to work, I think. So I've just rubbed off a little bit of the powder coating on the frame, reconnected up the earth to the battery to the frame. I just need to reconnect the loom earth back up, and then I'll turn the key again and just see if things like the headlights and stuff work, because I'm pretty sure there's basically like a little tab on these controls which connect into the bars, and it's all earthed through the frames. So I think it does need to be connected to the earth, but the first method obviously made me realise that the reason nothing was working was because of a bad earth. So I've literally just got to connect up the loom earth again. Obviously if it doesn't work, then I know that this connection here is wrong, because now I know that that earth is connected to the frame as I've rubbed off all the powder coating. I just know that this one here I have also rubbed off a little bit, but it might not be enough. So just connect all this back up. So that's the loom earth connected. Make sure that's nice and tight. And then we'll turn the key again and see if anything else works, like the headlight might turn on. So grab the key. Okay, so I've got the key now, and I'm just going to put it in again and just see if anything works. Okay, so now I know that the battery earth is connected up okay and the indicator is working. Nothing's really changed. There is part of me that's thinking that the headlight won't work unless the bike's running, or... Okay, so that's on. Okay, so the last turn must be a park, because you can take the key out. First turn is ignition, last turn is park, and then you can leave it with the light on as you're able to take the key out, I can only imagine. So everything needs to work on the first click. See, none of that's going to work. That's the starter motor. Indicators do flash, but they stay on. But that might be down to the... I think that's correct. Because basically in America they have like daytime running lights, like side markers, which basically means, I think, if I was to disconnect, they're both on, although that's brighter than that one. If I was to disconnect orange and white, yeah. So that's basically how it should work in the UK, I think. So it doesn't have the like the marker, side markers. I don't think that's legal here in the UK. So obviously, being a US bike, it would be that when you had it without the indicators on, then like these would both be on. I'm not quite sure why sometimes that ends up brighter than that and that ends up brighter than that. I don't really... So that's bright and that's not very bright. And that's bright and that's not very bright. Is that just a connection error? Earth. Okay, well at least the indicators are working. Headlights. There's a chance that headlights only work when the bike is running, because there is no on-off. So off, just connect this back in. I'm just figuring all of this out for the first time on like how all the controls work, what does what. So blue and white. Okay, so the on-off is the markers, so you can have those off, and then the indicators work as you'd expect. Got the light working on the dash, and then you can then have the side markers on. I'm not sure why one might be brighter than the other, but they are at the moment. Might just be a connection thing, I'm not sure. Okay, so the indicators work. Horn won't work because I don't have one at the moment. I'm thinking that the headlights only work when the bike's running. I'm pretty sure. And then if I turn the key extra, that's park light. So the back light does work. So there's no brake connected to check if the brake light's working, but the back light does work when it's in park. Yes, the key comes out in park. And then middle click is on, indicators work, side markers work when that is connected to on, horn doesn't work, starter motor obviously doesn't work. There's these two cables which are like a clutch safety switch. There's nowhere in the loom for this to be connected, so either someone's added this in the future or they've chopped it out, so I'm not going to know whether that's an issue until I get the bike running, but I'm pretty sure if I take this lever off I can just pull that switch out. So I'm just going to do a little bit of research on finding out whether the light's going to work. As it is, I'm thinking that it's not working until the bike's on, and then maybe the headlights are just on all the time when the bike's running. So it's a little bit like the XR in the sense that there is no battery in this bike, so the lights only work when the magneto is spinning. So I'm pretty sure that's it, really. Yeah, maybe I will start tidying all the loom up now that I'm pretty sure that works. Get the headlight bucket back on, and then that basically just goes there. All the loom sits inside here, so it's obviously going to look a lot neater. And then yeah, obviously if there's any issues with the lights in the future, then all I've got to do is just take the headlight out and yeah, see what's going on there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything, and I'm just going to crack on with doing all these sort of bits, and then we'll check back in a minute. Okay, so I've just spent a little bit of time off camera trying to figure out what was going on with those indicators there, and I have managed to sort it now. So it was something as simple as just the wires ran the wrong way. So basically these front indicators have two black cables coming out of them, but they're color coded at the ends. So where they were previously snipped, I didn't know which way to join them back up. So it just means that one of them I got the wrong way round, which meant that the lights were slightly out of sync. So you had the marker on one and then the indicator on the other, so different brightnesses there. So I've switched the cables now, and that's sorted it. The issue with the rear indicators I couldn't quite figure out at the start, but I removed the bulbs. Basically one indicator had a single filament bulb and the other one had a twin filament bulb, so it seemed a little bit weird at first. So I took the indicator out, and actually hidden underneath the indicator bracket was this little cable that's been snipped. So basically the rear indicator should have just one single wire and a single filament bulb, which basically means this is a front indicator fitted to the back, which is why it wasn't working properly. So I've had a little look on eBay, and I've managed to pick up a set of US spec indicators as a full set for £20. So hopefully with that set and the set that I've got now, I'm going to be able to make a complete good set, and that'll be the indicators sorted. So otherwise I fitted this headlight as well, just temporarily, just for the visuals. I'm pretty sure this rear bucket is the wrong one, so I'm probably going to have a look to see if I can pick up the correct one for that. I fitted these genuine Honda grips to handlebars, which is making it look a little bit more complete. And that's it basically. So yeah, I've worked out now that the headlight and the rear light is only going to work when the engine's running. So obviously that isn't going to work now. The next time you see this bike, the engine's going to be in it, so that'll be quite exciting. Okay, so the next thing to do is just going to fit the seat onto the bike, which should hopefully make it look a little bit more complete. So it is just basically held on with these little clevis pins. So I'll just go ahead and do that now. So this seat plunger has actually come all the way from Indonesia. It is just a third-party one, and obviously it didn't just fit straight away. Needed to modify it a little bit because it was too long. So when it was in the seat lock mechanism, there was quite a lot of movement there. So I've cut that down a little bit, but I will keep my eye out for a genuine one, see if I can find a second-hand one somewhere. So I just fit this up now, shouldn't take long. Okay, so that's the seat fitted, nice and easy, just with those two pins, and then that's just going to drop down and click into the seat mechanism. So that's it pretty much. It's looking a lot more complete than it did in the last video. So I think it's just time to have a sit on the bike now for the first time in a long time. And just drop it off the stand. Okay, so yeah, it feels pretty cool to be sat on this bike again. Yeah, hopefully it won't be long now until I'm riding it. Hopefully in time for the summer here in the UK. Like I said before, just got to crack on with the engine now, get that in and get it fired up. So that'll probably be the video to come. But yeah, I hope you like that one. If you did, then please give it a like, thumbs up or whatever. And if you're new here, then give the channel a subscribe. Obviously, if you've been here from the start, then really do appreciate your patience. It's obviously taken a little bit longer than expected, but obviously everything that's on this bike has been sort of taken off, cleaned, refurbished and refitted. So yeah, hope you like the process. Obviously the bike's looking a lot better now, and it's not far from the end. So yeah, as I said, please give me a like and subscribe. And also I'm going to try and start posting more sort of behind the scenes stuff, images on my Instagram, which is at Saunders Cycles. So if you are on Instagram and you want to sort of follow along on that and see some behind the scenes images and what I'm getting up to sort of in here when I'm not filming, then that'll be cool. But otherwise, yeah, just going to wrap that up now and we will see you in the next one. Thanks.